My January tradition returns. Yeah, in case you didn't know, every January, since there are usually no big movies that come out this month, I use January to make videos about movies I know that are getting sequels this year. Although last year I didn't really do that because there were no movies that year that came out that were sequels to movies I knew of. But this year, 2021, Space Jam is getting a sequel, and I know Space Jam. I watched that movie a lot when I was a kid, and I still have it on DVD for some reason. So let's talk about the original. Space Jam. So Space Jam came out around Thanksgiving in 1996, so a little over 24 years ago. I didn't see it in theaters, I was too young. And what's this movie about? Well, in case you couldn't tell by the poster, it's a Looney Tunes movie, kind of. It's actually a really interesting and unique premise. I mean, even if you've never watched them, you know the Looney Tunes characters, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. The Looney Tunes are pretty much to Warner Brothers what Mickey Mouse and his friends are to Disney. You know, they're the mascots, and they've been around since at least the 1940s. They're zany cartoons full of mayhem, wackiness, and looniness. So one day these Looney Tunes are hanging out in Looney Tune Land doing their Looney Tunes thing, which I guess for the sake of this movie, Looney Tunes Land is underneath the earth of like the real world. When these aliens come down from another planet, and they're like, alright, you Looney Tunes guys are now our prisoners. We need you guys because our theme park is not doing that well. So you're gonna be our slaves and perform for our paying customers. And the Looney Tunes characters are like, yeah, right. You guys are pipsqueaks. We're not going with you guys. The Looney Tunes need a chance to defend themselves. And to do that, they decide to challenge these little pipsqueaks to a basketball game. Should be easy, right? Because these guys are tiny. They don't stand a chance. But oh, they got a trick up their sleeves. It turns out these guys can actually steal the talent from NBA basketball players, like real NBA players in real life. So they do. They go to these NBA games and they steal the talent from these star players. And doing that transforms these little aliens into these giant, like huge, muscular, all-star basketball player looking dudes who Sylvester the Cat aptly names the Monstars. So now this upcoming basketball game is not looking too easy. And in the words of Bugs Bunny, they're gonna need a little bit of help. So the Looney Tunes go to the real world and they take NBA superstar Michael Jordan, which Michael Jordan is pretty much the main character in this movie. At this point, Michael Jordan is actually trying out baseball, which I think he actually played baseball in real life too. But of course, we all know Michael Jordan. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a sports guy. I don't follow sports. I was never a sports fan, but I know who Air Jordan is. Isn't he like one of the greatest basketball players of all time? Yeah. So the Looney Tunes are like, yeah, we need your help, MJ. We need your help to defeat these huge monstars. Otherwise, we're gonna end up being slaves for them in their theme park. And so Michael Jordan has to help the Looney Tunes win their basketball game, and now we have our movie. Yeah, like I said, it's a really unique premise, but it's a fun premise. I really like it. I mean, let's be clear, this is a 90s cheesy movie for kids. Don't think it's anything different. Like, don't walk in this movie going, oh, I'm gonna take this movie seriously, because you're gonna walk out going, that was trash. Now, you gotta see it for what it is. And that is, if you didn't watch this movie as a kid growing up, then you're just not gonna like it if you watch it now for the first time. You know, it's a nostalgic movie. I mean, the rating it has on Rotten Tomatoes currently is, I think, in the 40s somewhere. So it's not a serious movie. I mean, it's a Looney Tunes movie, for crying out loud. Just based on that fact alone, you know you're in for something that's just not taking itself seriously. Even the scenes in the real world, you have these characters who are pretty much acting like cartoons, and none of the acting is really like that great. You have Wayne Knight, who plays Stan Podolak, and he's really annoying. He pretty much wants to be like Michael Jordan's right-hand man, but he's really desperate and needy and pathetic. Bill Murray cameos in this movie, which is funny, because when I watched this movie as a kid, I was like, I have no idea who that guy is. I'd never heard of him when I was a kid. And now when I watch this movie, I mean, I haven't watched this movie in years, and when I watch it now, I was like, hey, yeah, that's Bill Murray. And he plays himself in this movie, and that's always fun when an actor plays themselves. Because these aliens stole talent from actual NBA players, these NBA players who actually also make cameos in this movie, they have their own little storyline in this film where like they're going to doctors, they're like, what's wrong with us? Why can't we play basketball anymore? What happened to our talent? And you realize that, yeah, they're not actors. They're basketball players, their acting's not good at all. I mean, their scenes are funny, sure, because you see them talking to therapists and it's good humor. Because they're like, what the hell is wrong with us? And so with Bill Murray in this movie, he's like, yeah, maybe I have a shot at being an NBA player now, because you guys are gonna need your slots filled. I've always wanted to try out basketball. Maybe I have a shot. Like I said, it's absolutely ridiculous. So don't take it so seriously. This movie also invented a brand new Looney Tunes character, Lola Bunny. Now, look, you gotta remember that this was the 90s here. So for young viewers, this character had one purpose and one purpose only. Yes, to be awesome at basketball, but also to be kind of the looker. I mean, she acts all hot and steamy around Bugs Bunny, who's just falling head over heels for her. But now, as I'm watching this movie in 2021, I'm like, Oh man, I'm not a furry, I'm not a furry, I'm not. Apparently this character actually showed up in Looney Tunes cartoons after this movie came out. I don't know, I haven't seen her in any Looney Tunes cartoons. I mean, then again, I don't really watch Looney Tunes cartoons, so that's probably why. In fact, I never watched Looney Tunes growing up. I was a Disney kid, what can I say? In fact, I'm pretty sure the only reason I watched this movie as a kid was that I watched it like at friends' houses, you know? Like they had it on, or maybe it was at summer camp. Like it was never my first choice to watch, but I guess enough people had it on when I was a kid that I watched it enough times and now I have it on DVD. Not that I have anything against the Looney Tunes characters, they're great. I don't know, I can't explain it. I will say they look really good in this movie. I mean, visual effects wise, this movie's actually not half bad. I mean, when Michael Jordan's hanging out in this 2D world, yeah, obviously it's fake. There'll be points where he has to interact with 2D objects and you watch it now and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of dated. But when it's just like the 2D characters interacting with stuff, the lighting and the shading and the drawing, it's really good quality. I can only hope they look this good in the sequel. And of course, the voice acting for the Looney Tunes characters is really good too. I don't know if they're gonna have the same voice actors in the sequel. I kind of hope they do, but I don't know. It's been 24 years. Maybe they'll sound different, or maybe the characters have different voice actors at this point. I don't know. I hope that won't bother me too much. Now, as for the music in this movie, it's really good 90s stuff. I mean, during the opening credits, we have this awesome Space Jam song. Come on and slam if you wanna jam. It's really catchy. It goes on for a while. It's like a 5-minute opening credit sequence, so it does kind of drag, but that doesn't stop the song from being good. And the score was done by James Newton Howard, who's a really well-known composer, and the score is actually really good. When we're in Looney Tune land, the music does sound like Looney Tunes music. Gotta give James Newton Howard props for that. In the end, Space Jam is a Looney movie. Again, you don't want to take it too seriously. It's a 90s cheesy fun movie for kids. In fact, by the time you get to the big basketball game at the end, you really start seeing how much this movie just doesn't care. Because the writing, the script around this big game, sometimes the writing actually gets kind of bad. Like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, even more than usual. I mean, the movie from the get-go is pretty nonsensical, but especially at the end when this big game comes. Stuff happens where you're like, okay, I'm not supposed to be using my brain here. So I'm just gonna turn it off and have some loony fun watching the Looney Tunes doing their Looney Tunes thing. You do that, and this movie's actually not that bad, but you just gotta know what you're in for. The acting by the live-action actors is all around alright. I will say Michael Jordan's acting is not too terrible. If for nothing else, it's passable, it's acceptable. It's just enough to be watchable. All the other NBA players who are in this movie, you're like, alright, you're here for a paycheck. And the other actors like Bill Murray and Wayne Knight, you're like, alright, they're kind of funny in that 90s cheese kind of way. The writing for them is not that bad. I am curious about the sequel though. They're getting LeBron James for it. I know who he is. He's a pretty good basketball player, to say the least. So I'm interested to see what they do. Is Danny DeVito's character gonna come back? I don't know, but I guess we'll see in July. So Space Jam, have you seen it? Did you grow up with it like I did? What do you think about it? And do you watch Looney Tunes? Who's your favorite Looney Tunes character? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe. That's all, folks.